A quick glance at the front pages. Daily Graphic begins this morning and says, who's ready for 2016 polls? NDC, NPP say they are winning, but other parties are beat. That's the story. Now, the Ghanaian Times says, Bukom Banku dodges court. It comes with his photograph. The business day has construction industry booms, more investments on the way. The Today newspaper says, our strike, not political, says Gospa. And it comes with a photograph of the health minister. Daily Express has Muhammad takes campaign to Central Region. BNFT says pension funds hunger for more leverage. And the Financial Post has IMF government hold crucial elections. The Economy Times has a story. Ghana loses $2.1 billion to tax evasion annually, and Ghana's GDP growth projected at 5%. The smiling governor of the Bank of Ghana there. The Finder says crunch meeting tomorrow over controversial ECG concession. And the Daily Guide, Lucky Mensa dabs NDC, and cops chase Bukom Banku over case. The Daily Statesman says Mahama goes on creation of new district. Those are the pages of some of the newspapers. Before my guest this morning to my extreme right is Member of Parliament for the Futu constituency, Honorable Alexander Afenyamakin. Good morning.
Morning, brother.
And I hope you're doing great.
By His grace, though not a happy man.
You will be happy. It is well. And then to my right is the Chief Executive Officer of HR Perspective, Dr. Kopon. Good morning, too.
Good morning.
And I hope you're doing great, too.
Very well.
To my left is Member of Parliament for the Adaklu constituency, Honorable Kwame Agboja. Good morning, too.
Good morning.
And I hope you're doing good.
I'm doing good, by His grace.
Great. Now let's start quickly with the stories on some of the pages. The dailies, the Daily Guide, the Daily Express, the Daily Statesman all have stories from the Central Region, the President tour. The Daily Guide has a story, I can't build 200 schools, says President Mahama. That's according to the Daily Guide. The Daily Express, Mahama takes campaign to Central Region. And then the Daily Statesman talks about Mahama goes on creation of new districts. We'll take a look at the President tour of the Central Region, beginning with this one. Let me start quickly with you, Kwame. Now, the Daily Statesman is reporting that the President is reported to have said that he can build 200 schools. The President told a gathering at Aguna Bodom that there are challenges, particularly he mentioned issues of land acquisition as one of the reasons why all the 200 schools cannot be built. But he promised that in 2017, when his term of office is renewed, he will complete all 200 schools. Let me come to you. Your critics have said that, well, that's another failed promise.
Thank you very much, and good morning to my colleagues on the set and cherished viewers of TV3 Network, especially those from the Adaklu constituency. Well, the headline was a bit misleading. I can't build 200 secondary schools, but thank God you read some of the body of the text, which says that the President was trying to explain why all the 200 could not be completed within this year. And it is also the fact that we all acknowledge the fact that the policy, the reason for the policy was quite clear, that too many people leave JHS and don't even have access to go to senior high school. So it wasn't just an attempt to just build things. It was supposed to address specific issues. And luckily, my constituency is host to one of them. And yes, we are benefiting from the World Bank funded one. I give you example to explain what the President is saying. Our project started. There's absolutely no problem about funding to this project. The site was chosen when the contractor started. So many issues regarding the site. So it took a longer time for the contractor to finish the substructure before they continue. It made them encounter a lot of delays, and which makes the project, I'm told...
Issues about land acquisition?
In Adaklu, not exactly land acquisition, but we are aware, sitting in Parliament, I know that there were hospital projects that have been delayed for 1 year. You know, the 7 district hospital that was to be done by MNSI, for instance. It took more than a year for the site in Secondary Takrady to be agreed upon, because the site was chosen and then some people came in and legal issues, and it belongs to another state organization. So it delayed for this number of time. And then there are so many other things that led to this thing. So the president is not saying that we couldn't finish because we didn't have the will, but because certain things are beyond what the government can control. Sometimes it's also got to do with the contractor's own management of the project, and it's not unusual. If you remember, Flagstaff House, then this was supposed to have been finished within a certain period of time at a cost of $32 million thereabout. But you and I know that it delayed for so long a period, and at the cost of almost $100 million. So these are challenges you have when you embark on a massive infrastructure project like this. And sometimes I tell people it's only when you stand in front of an E-block that you see how insignificant you are in terms of size. It is a huge building. It's got so much structural issues. So if you don't sort out the foundation and other things well, you may likely encounter a problem. So I'm happy that the president is still committed to it. I am told that as we speak, close to about 30 are either almost close to completion, and another 70 would have been done by the end of the year.
That's a figure your deputy minister put out there.
Yes.
Mr. Kujeto Blakwa says about 70,
yes.
And the president talks about 123. And again, your critics say that the difference in figures show that there is some inconsistency.
The different figures in one.
Mr. Kujeto Blakwa is suggesting that 70 will be completed by the end of the year. Yes. The president talks about 123.
Yeah, but because 123 were the original ones that were awarded. You know, 50, 20, 23, and 50. Oh. That is what it is. So they are at an advanced stage. If you look, Adaklu hasn't even been mentioned, but I know that the last time I was on the site was 2 weeks ago. The contractor says it will be done by October, November, but it's not even mentioned. So it is likely we might even get better results by the time. But it is appropriate as well as a leader. When you embark on a project as this, you give periodic account to the people. So if the president says that this number will be completed now and then the rest will be completed after a period of time, I don't think it's an attempt to say it's a failed promise at all. In any case, I am happy that from President Mills' time, projects and policies that were done, you know, in the past, any government that comes just ignore anything that the previous government does. But President Mills deliberately continued almost everything that the President Kufuor started, and sometimes they use it against us that, oh, you haven't, we started it, but it's a good thing. So if some of the projects would have to overlap into next year and properly done, I think it's an appropriate thing to do.
If the paper says that it is not precisely issues about land acquisition and all that, but the World Bank project has the funding. Those that are yet to take off are those to be funded by government, and the money is not there. Are you able to answer that?
Yes, that is completely untrue, because the 50 that we started was entirely government funded. And it's only that, as we sit here, it's only the 23 that is being funded by the donor funding. So a vast majority of it is government funding. And this government have shown, even when we had, for instance, school feeding, when it was donor funded, it was a small amount of money. Today, it is entirely government funded, and the figures are maybe 10 times the number that even it was being funded. So we have the capacity to fund these things by ourselves, and indeed, we should be able to do that within our means. And I say that it is not true that it's because of funding. I don't know how many contractors who say that they have finished their work, they have duly been certified by the consultant, and their certificates have been lying there 6 months under this project. I don't believe so.
I'm grateful, Honorable Kwame Agbeja. Honorable Afenyomakin, so your party is suggesting that indeed 4 months into the end of the year, the president simply can't fulfill this promise. So that's one of the promises that he has failed.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed the submissions by my brother. Obviously, a government in a state of confusion at the tail end. And I'm happy the way he juxtaposed the conduct of Professor Mills of blessed memory against a possible scenario of 2017. What he said was that President Mills inherited some projects and continued those projects. I think he anticipates, and he's not wrong though, that they're likely to lose elections, and from the way he constructed his statement, he expects that an another government come 2017 will take up some of these projects. Yes, I agree. If with free education at the SHS level. So if to achieve that you need more infrastructure, and for some poor planning you're unable to do it, he will be able to do so with proper planning in place. So what he said is not out of place at all. But let's come to the mainstay of his argument. He tries to suggest to the whole world that there are some other causes for their inability to complete the said 200 secondary schools. But what are the issues? Issue number one, you made a promise to the people of Ghana. In your manifesto, you addressed Parliament in the State of the Nation address, and you said you are committed to this and you will deliver. Early this year, you had once again said you are going to deliver these 200 day schools. What is the state now? You have been able to commission less than 10. And we have 92 days to an election. Then again, you say that you are going to complete 124. Meanwhile, a deputy minister of education says that between now and December, you are going to do conservatively about 70 more. Because yesterday I listened to him on City FM. Today, Kwame himself, perhaps following what as communicator he's been asked to put across, is unable to tell us exactly what their plan is. But this is the usual posture of NDC. Very inconsistent, flip-flopping, not too sure, playing to the gallery, confusing everybody by themselves, and always blaming other factors. It is something now they say land, and now it's funding and all that. Please, they have been exposed.
He ruled out funding as a challenge.
Well, but somebody else would also say something else. But
we are talking about what Kwame has said.
Well, Kwame is giving us different reasons for their inability to complete the project. They propose to bring one to Efutu. It's ground zero. They've actually, the contractor is not even assigned. Nothing has been done. But you see, you must ask yourself a question. Between 2013 to date, has the NDC been able to implement successfully any social intervention initiative? And between 2009 to 2012, were they able to achieve anything that Ghanaians can today say that, oh, this government came into being? This is what very peculiar that they have done that they will be remembered for. We hear of some few projects, which is usual, normal, because no government can come without doing a project, but with a very high cost. And as I can give you several examples, at least one is the Kumasi Airport, $29 million. Another failed initiative which would have alleviated poverty and would have created employment was SADA, which we lost 299 million. Now, this government today is unable to do certain projects, even in the educational sector, because they have wasted a lot of money. And one example of such is a CDB loan, where they were supposed to procure 3 billion from the Chinese, and within a period, they didn't put their house in order, and they ended up paying penal charges to the Chinese, to the extent that as of 2015, when the government came to Parliament to cap the facility to 1.5 billion, they had paid no less than $200 million to the Chinese financial institution that was to provide funding free. $200 million. This is the emphasis. Now, if you convert,
so that's the reason why they're unable to complete the schools.
I want to conclude.
Just come back to
part of it. Yes, I'm coming to it. Right. If you convert this $200 million plus to cedis, you are talking about 800 million Ghana cedis. If you add it to the SADA 299, you are talking about over 1 billion Ghana cedis. Now, let's put this in context. If these monies were available, by the way, these are state monies, you and I, our taxes. These are not loans. These are monies that we paid out free to some people. If these monies were available to the government, and if government had demonstrated real competence and commitment, they would have been able to complete most of these projects. Because I know for a fact, at least I know 3 contractors who were awarded, and they said that they were never paid. Yes, I'm saying so. Yes, I say so on good authority. And if I'm challenged, I'll provide evidence for them.
Kwame said
so the funding, apart from the World Bank,
Kwame said there's never been a contractor who has completed work and has submitted a certificate and has
6 months. He said, I heard him.
But you are saying some contractors were awarded and have not been paid?
Ask him whether or not all contractors were given mobilization. 2, you see, just a few of them who are well resourced, had the means to complete their project. But many more of them do not have the resources and have not received the necessary funding to do it, except the World Bank ones that, as you may know, for the World Bank ones, the funds may be available. But the government of Ghana one, they should come and tell us, because if you say that this was your initiative and the funding was there, we are at the tail end of your administration. NDC's 8th year. You cannot find excuses. And today I've told you that because
let's wrap up for me.
Very well. And this morning I have argued that because the state had over 1 billion cedis and same got abused, of course they were in a tight corner. But if these monies were available, at least the 800 million that has gone to the Chinese finance house that was to provide us a loan had been available, they would have been able to complete these 200 than to conveniently say that, you give me time and next year. Who said next year you are going to be
I am grateful.
Next year you'll be in opposition.
I am
Nana will be president. If you have failed, you have failed. Admit that.
Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin is member of parliament for a foot. I'm grateful. I come back to ask if indeed political parties have always fulfilled what is in their manifesto. But Dr. Kwapong, the president has told the gathering at Abodom that indeed, due to land issues and other reasons, he cannot complete the 200 schools. Now, from you, he failed the people?
Well, yes, it looks as if he has failed the people.
It looks as if?
Yeah, and
so he has not failed them?
Well, he's trying to redeem, the promises made. But for me, before you make a promise, you should have done quite a bit of study, come up with certain assumptions, and proper due diligence before you open your mouth to say anything. Because it's a promise and a social contract with the people of Ghana. So before you come out to say anything, you must be sure you've done your homework very well. Otherwise, you look funny at the end of the day when you are unable to deliver, and then you are beginning to find excuses. So I worry about that. If I were a politician, I would rather choose to under-promise and over-deliver than over-promise and then under-deliver. It's rather embarrassing. Having said so, I also want to congratulate the president for his integrity, facing up to reality and saying that, yes, indeed, I promised so many schools. I cannot deliver, given the time frame and the resources available. Now, the spokespersons who are, or the the political commentators who are seeking to clean up the mess, or as it were, do some damage control, should stop going to lack of land, lack of money, and other constraints. Indeed, every government, the state, has the power to acquire any land in this country and pay compensation to the owners. The Land Acquisition Act, the state has the power to take your land. Yes, that's the position of the law. The state can take your land and compensate you.
Okay, Dr. Kwapong, please go.
So you can take the land. You have the power. The sovereign power of this country lies with the state, with the government, so they can take and pay. So how come?
So there should be issues of land acquisition.
So how come you go around saying, oh, you didn't have land, you didn't have this? Now you are saying that those who have completed have been sponsored by the World Bank funding.
No,
does it mean?
that.
Oh, okay.
some of the project, the critics of Mr. Mahama are saying that the completed ones are those funded by the World Bank.
Wrong.
And that's what the critics are saying. And that the government-funded ones are still there, not completed. In fact, still at the initial stages.
Yeah, but having said that, whether the funds came from World Bank or the state,
from government,
the government of Ghana funds, the funds have not been enough to complete the project, meaning that our homework wasn't done properly, and that's where my problem lies. Now, having said that, being somebody in the area of human resource management, I'm happy my two young brothers have all said that, look, come next year, whatever happens, we're going to continue with the projects that have been started. For me, this is a good promise from both sides, to the extent that, yes, you are providing opportunities for people to learn and to acquire skills, knowledge, and competencies to be able to build this nation. So whether NPP or NDC, at the end of the day, we are going to continue with these projects initiated by President Mahama, and I'm happy about that.
Dr. Let me, before you move on, is any party able to completely exhaust every policy mentioned in its manifesto? We can go back, you can tie in this with our budget. We want to face the reality. These are proposals, these are intentions. Are these parties, do they have what it takes to complete whatever is in the manifesto, even the budget of a country that we see every year?
No, over the years, we've not been able to achieve all the targets that we set ourselves. And it's all because we are unable to raise enough revenue by ourselves to, roll out these projects. So you go with a cap in hand, begging the donor community for monies. And for how long can they tax their people and give the monies to us to complete our projects? The other thing is that since independence, I'm told, and I'm not sure though, but I'm told that at the time of independence, we had over 97 million pounds sterling in reserves. You understand? It means that our colonial masters were able to manage our economy so well that they were able to set aside money as reserves for future development. We came in, and ever since, every year we are unable to balance our budget. We go to them for them to cap up. I mean, does it mean that we as Ghanaians are unable to manage ourselves and manage our economy at the national level? That's the question I keep asking all the time. We don't have the capacity, is it? Because year after year, there is a deficit, and then we go to these same colonial masters begging with a cap in hand for money. I worry about that. And I think Nkrumah must be turning his grave, because he said that whatever the white man was capable of doing, the black man could do so, and even better. Are we seeing this? So it's a disappointment. And I believe future governments will be able to do that.
Okay, a quick wrap up on this one. 2 minutes each. Yes, 2 minutes each.
I disagree with Doc on the issue of our colonial masters leaving us with a lot of reserves. The question is, were they so committed to infrastructural development and rural development? I mean, they had their own agenda in managing this colony, or the colonies that they had. So it's not an issue of they had reserves because they were managing the economy well. We should put it in a proper context. I want to leave it there.
Okay, all right. Kwame, a quick one.
Just to add, Doc probably knows better than some of us. You will notice, for instance, when they talk about when the colonial masters attempted to build railways, what did they do? They just went to areas that they were Nkrumah, noticing this thing, started to spread out development to the other areas, and those were part of the reasons he was overthrown. So the temptation for people to think, I have heard people saying that, oh, the colonial masters did better, they did. I mean, it was centered on exactly what they wanted to do, to exploit this country. I bet you, which country can you say that has stayed under the colonial masters so long and have got everything developed? So I believe Dr. Nkrumah made no mistake by saying we can manage our own things better, because as a matter of fact, I am sure we have made progress. We could have done better, but I will not take anything to say that we could have been better if we under British.
We can't talk about infrastructure in South Africa.
Yes,
that were under colonial rule for some time.
The South African people, the apartheid regime was not was not like colonizing them. They thought they were living there forever. In fact, they are still there.
So they were very
okay,
Yes,
all right.
yes.
But
Go to Maputo. Yes, exactly.
Okay,
But by the way, right, Kwame said, I don't know whether it was a slip. Kwame says that the Nkrumah was overthrown because he was engaged in rural development. I think it was a slip.
He's propounding a theory.
No. Are you saying that his overthrow was as a result of...
Yes,
because he was taking...
When Dr. Nkrumah was building Akosombo and the Akosombo Dam and other thing, you remember people saying how many people live here? It was a waste of our resources.
Okay.
Look, the text is there. I mean,
we're going into history. Okay.
Just a comment.
Right.
And you can hear those calls today.
I have just returned. I've just returned from the Western region, and I tell you, I went to a mine site. I wouldn't mention the name, but there's a railway in the bush, abandoned, and I was so sad.
Yeah, but it was
The little that they left behind, we have not been able to, as it were, sustain. And look at the rate at which the Takrady Road is deteriorating within a very short period of time. Meanwhile, the railway lines are there, and we only need to put in some money to revive the railway and cut those heavy
tracks on the road.
But the railway expansion was part of the CDB loan, which government abandoned. It was part of the 3 billion.
Okay. All right.
Once again, it shows you
for that one. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the Finder newspaper. Crunch meeting expected tomorrow.
No, I thought you said you were going to ask us as to whether parties are fulfilled. I have I wanted to do a chronology of what NPP promised, what we promised, to see who actually delivered.
I thought.
Okay, we can move on.
We'll run.
Right, I thought you were in control of.
Yes, I was in control. So I'm moving on.
We have raised a serious matter this morning. I was expecting him to rebut me.
Oh, which one?
On the CDB, the 200 in terms of penalties.
Alex,
I want us to see. Since you want to talk about promises.
No, I don't want us to go.
Right, he brought
there.
it. He brought it.
He's requesting you to give me time to respond to something.
No, I am not. We're moving on.
Yes.
We're moving on.
You paid free money.
$350 million dash to EO Group. It's more than the $200 million.
Let's move on, because I know where you gentlemen are going to go if we go on that tangent.
So I'll go back to my village from here, actually.
I know. All right. Now, the Finder is talking about a crunch meeting tomorrow. Now, ECG staff were on strike, sit-down strike, actually, and we're told they're resuming today. But there's a meeting today supposed to find a way out. If according to the Public Utility Workers Union, their next line of action will be determined after today's meeting. Dr. Kwapong, now, this ECG thing is getting to places where it's becoming more and more uncomfortable. Those who had run out of prepaid credit were stranded. They could not get a replacement. Can we get to the bottom of it?
Yes, I mean, clearly it is a dispute between workers and their employers, and there is always a platform for resolving these disputes. The law, the Labour Act 651, has provided that whenever there is disagreement between employer and employee, they should try to use internal mechanisms to resolve, or avenues to resolve the dispute, failing which they can escalate it to the National Labour Commission and start with mediation and then arbitration. And if you study the law carefully, before you exhaust this process, mandatorily you will have spent about 30 days, working days, resolving or going through these motions. Then you will come to a conclusion that, look, I'm embarking on a legal strike. I'm not sure they have exhausted all these processes, and yet they are on strike. And my concern is that poor consumers are suffering from this strike. You have the money, you want to buy units, you cannot. So it's affecting homes, it's affecting factories, it's affecting the economy. And I worry about that. I would pray that the two parties will listen to reason, get the National Labour Commission to create a platform for them to talk again and resolve the matter. They are in the, what we call the emergencies. What do we really call them? Essential services. So I think the rules are more stringent in those areas, and both parties must show goodwill and work towards a solution, because at the end of the day, we suffer. My worry though, is that there are the worker seems to have an entrenched position on the matter, fearing that it will lead the privatization will lead to loss of jobs. And that's why they have taken a very bold step to do what they are doing. I think they must have consumers in mind and soften their hearts for the sake of everybody in Ghana and Mother Ghana.
To soften their hearts, allow the concessionary process to go on. That's what you're saying?
No, but you see, the concession wasn't going to be 100%, was it?
No.
It was
We're
going
talking
to be
about management issue.
Yes. And so the management issue, well, unfortunately, we bent our fingers with the Ghana Water Company when we brought in the Aqua Vitens group. So learning from that experience, yes, naturally people are concerned. But can't we then go in with some kind of roadmap saying that, look, the concession should be so much, employees' participation. After all, we can float shares and give share options to workers so that they'll have stake in the business and therefore even work better. And then we also set targets for management, the governance issues, because I cannot understand why so many institutions owe ECG so much, and ECG is unable to collect the monies. What is the problem? What is holding them back from carrying out their mandate as managers of a body or a business? I'm worried about that. People say it's government interference. So what? Others are doing well. So why is ECG not able to do that? So we need a strong leadership, strong management, and then they should move ahead.
I'm going for Dr. Kwapo. Honorable Alex Afenyomakin, so the workers have complained about the fact that they have not been made part of the process. Transparency is missing here. Perhaps they have a case insisting that they should have been made part of this process right from day one.
Let me do a rather elaborate analysis of this matter so that we understand the concerns of the workers. First of all, is the issue of inconsistent power supply about ECG's mismanagement of the power supplied it to distribute? Is it the case? Is it that we don't have competent engineers at ECG to manage distribution of power? Or is the issue of, one, government inability to pay for services rendered, and two, the inability of ECG to replace all of its obsolete equipment?
These are questions.
As far as I know, the workers are saying that, look, if government is able to pay a debt, if government is able to get these resources through, they will be able to replace some of these old equipment and all that to enable them run efficiently. We are told, and it's part of public records, that almost 30% of power received is lost through distribution. And the reasons are all there for us to see. So if government is now introducing a third party to come and run the facility, the workers are asking why they need to introduce a third party. Government itself has not been able to come out clearly on the reasons for introducing a third party to come and run ECG for whatever reason. But I know also that the American government, in giving us this Millennium Compact 2, the $500 million plus, they gave certain conditions for government to meet. And one of such was how government was going to manage the energy sector and ensure efficiency. And it was clear that government should give a payment plan on how it's going to liquidate its debts at ECG, VRA, Gridco, what have you. And if government finds it convenient to now say that, oh, one of the ways of ensuring ECG is efficient and that ECG is able to distribute all the power or that it receives, I am going to allow a third party to come in, then certainly these workers would have issues with it, because they think that the problem has to do with government rather than the institution itself. That is the main contention. So the government should come out. Is it the case that ECG as it is now is being mismanaged by the leadership there, by the board and the chief executive and all the directors? Is that the case? So we should listen to the workers. And again, they are also worried about their future. If you are bringing a third party, are we going to have our jobs? If we are going to be sent home, under what conditions, what terms, and all that? They have a legitimate expectation. And that legitimate expectation is that in this transition, they will be given a fair treatment. That in this transition, they would have what is due them. If you are not communicating, and I am not surprised, because this government has never been transparent in its dealings with public sector workers. This government has never been transparent in its dealings with Ghanaians. Although sometimes they conveniently concede just to play to the gallery, and this perhaps has compelled Doc to even say, oh, he's commending President for his integrity. But he was faced with the reality. He could not do otherwise.
Alex, you didn't say
oh,
that.
No.
I know you didn't
say that. I mean, yes, because the Doc got the impression that Mr. President, by conceding that I can't do it, is a demonstration of his sincerity to the people of Ghana.
That is it.
But wait,
I mean, if
wait a
I'm
moment.
able to do
I
something,
I agree. Timing is critical. I will take you serious if you do it ahead of time as a result of proper planning. If the president has said it in the State of the Nation address, right, I would have gone out to praise Mr. President that he has conceded. But not when in the State of the Nation address you still insist that you are going to do 200 schools, you complete them, your communicators, your government functionaries were all over that, you will deliver. Now it is 92 days. You are faced with a reality. You now concede that you can't do it. And even so, how many have you done? They are still going around with figures. You have done less than 10%. How many? You've commissioned less than 10 out of 200. I'm not a mathematician.
The president also said that there are others that have been completed and they are waiting commission.
Oh,
he's asking GES to allow the students
please.
to go.
You see the usual blame game thing. GS should populate and all that. We've been hearing all these things. I don't want to go there. But all I'm trying to say relative to the ECG matter is that this government is not consistent. This government does not act with transparency, because many of the issues, if they deal with them head on, it wouldn't even come into the public domain. And even when these things come into the public domain, they are posture, blame game, or they call off your bluff, or they tell you their peace of mind, like what they do to religious leaders. If you disagree with them, they start to attack you. It's happening.
Which religious leader?
Oh, I can give you an example.
Which one?
Professor Mate, Reverend Professor Mate is an example. Pastor Menso Tabel is an example. Where they disagree with you. Owusu Bimpa is an example, because you criticize them on a matter which is in the public domain. So I know that this government cannot change, but perhaps I take this opportunity to remind them that ECG workers are part of the essential service category of public sector staff, and they should not sit down and allow, because yesterday some people were going to buy credit in certain areas and they were told that they were not selling and all that. Please and please again, government of Ghana, although you are in your 8th year, although you are fatigued, although you are tired, although you are at the tail end of your governance, but we cannot afford another darkness. ECG workers, listen to them, give them fair hearing, and at least demonstrate a little competence in your handling of this matter.
I'm grateful for your time. Kwame, so this meeting, can it arrive at a solution that will see the workers soften their stance on what is currently the confusion?
First of all, I deliberately did not want to respond to some of the choices of word of Doc, when, for instance, somebody trying to clear the mess and other things. He's in his line of work. You will know that the fact that you have planned everything doesn't mean that you can't have a mishap. Around the same time, we're having floods in this country. We're having floods across Europe. But individuals who should know better use words like, because we have lack of planning, we don't have days, leaders are so and so. That is why we have floods. We had floods in London, Germany, everything. So I just want that when some people speak, the temptation, and rightly, people should take them serious because they know better. When we're talking about education, there is no government in our history that has committed much more resource to making sure education across board, from nursery to university, gets to where you and I want it to be, because it's not there yet. Tell me which government have done better in terms of structural change, in terms of content of what is taught, structural change in terms of what is the meaning of nursery, primary, JHS, SHS, university, and also took steps to provide the access, which was one critical issue, and then the cost. No government. Nkrumah did a great job. No government. Some regions, some constituencies would have been without any second cycle school without some of these policies. So to say that we commit to build 200, and we are saying that wanted us to take governments that have ruled this country before. Let's compare what they said, what they promised, and what they delivered. Then you said you won't.
We won't have all the time.
Yeah,
let's move on.
Yes, let's move on. You see, my brother asked I will not give a lot of chronology. He asked a question. I should mention one thing that we have done as a member of parliament. The worst dignity we have suffered as members of parliament is basically trying to juggle your lunch as a sandwich and then your paperwork in your car boot. This government gave us a decent environment to work with. So today, we Ghanaians are demanding better efficiency from members of parliament because the state have invested more. So just to limit ourselves.
You have an office now.
Listen, just to limit ourselves, because the two of us are parliamentarians, to limit ourselves to parliament.
A social intervention
to limit
policy.
ourselves, of course. Listen. If your constituents visit you, and you and them have to transact business, and your car boot at the car park, I think it's against. It's not a better one. But if today they have a reception that you can receive them and give them dignity, so let's limit to parliament. I'm saying that this government have given the biggest dignity to members of parliament. Let's get back to
it. Was started long ago.
Okay, let's move
on. The ECG, my brother. What are we talking about here? The average Ghanaian, including you and I, know that we had inherent challenges in terms of our power generation, our power supply. In fact, Ghanaians don't really care how you got it. We just want consistent power supply for our homes, for our businesses, and what have you. We had challenges. Generation capacity was lacking. We didn't just have enough. Akosombo was more than enough at the time it was built because of the population and what we were doing. But even if Dr. Nkrumah was to have the enough time to complete his industrialization move, it wasn't going to get halfway before he gets into problem with where would I get the energy, because don't forget, much of the energy that was produced by Akosombo was even just left in Tema anyway for Falco. So much of it wasn't available to the people of this country. Then we had, like my brother said, obsolete grid system, i.e. you've got a vehicle that have got the shock absorbers, everything is rickety. Then you went and bought a new engine and stick it into it. You start it, it starts well. You move, then this falls apart, that falls apart. So the grid was also an issue. Then the management itself of the power sector was an issue. Is it supposed to be VRA? Is it supposed to be ECG? Is it supposed to be Gridco? Rightly, they decided to separate generation from distribution and management. It was one of the steps. But after we engage this step, of course, the people doing the generation, myself and my brother, are the ones who pass the agreement as to what we want to generate. So that one is sorted out. As and when we agree, generation is done. Then the distribution, which is the grid system, the Gridco and other things, which we regularly in Parliament take loans and other things and give them to upgrade the grid. Whether it's about the transmission lines, whether it's about the meters and other things, consistently, including a few months ago, we passed a loan to get new meters because, as I sit here even, in my village, we have need for over 5,000 electric meters because the rural expansion is going on, and once that happens, you need to meter it. Otherwise, people begin to consume electricity without paying for it. So all these things, but we can see still there's a management problem. I sympathize with.
But it's not an issue of government debt. That's
no, well, like somebody said, if the state or every county, let's face it, you cannot say that you are practicing the cleanest form of capitalism or whatever. So if you have a rural school in my village, a rural health facility which cannot generate enough resource at the point of delivery to pay the electricity bill, cut them off. Is that what we are trying to say? I don't belong to a school of thought which says that everybody must pay for what they can consume. Where I stand, I don't think I should be allowed, for instance, for my child to benefit from a free school meal or free school uniform. I should be able to pay. But there's somebody in my family who should not be able to afford it, or who cannot be able to afford it. The state should take care of those vulnerable people. So to say that government owes, what does government owe? Government owes because ECG at the point of delivery in communities, in areas that cannot afford to pay directly, and we should work a way of paying for it. But that is not to say that is why ECG is in trouble. If you read part of why the compact was agreed upon, there was an explicit agreement that there will be local participation. Even because somebody said that we should sell, we should sell the staff some of the shares and other thing. There's absolute clauses in there to say local participation. Two, the jobs of the people working at ECG must be protected. But you see, the problem is this. You and I know that we always say in a private sector, if you were to TV3, if TV3 were to be government owned, maybe you have twice the size of staff here. And some people will come to work and find it difficult to know exactly what they are supposed to do. It's a fact. ECG staff are professional, engineers and other things. There are so many people there trying to make sure the things we need are there. But that does not take away the fact that if there are lapses in terms of better ways of doing things, you shouldn't put them in. In Parliament, I wish I had more staff to work with, but the state says, he knows. Even for us to get staff to work with, they say pay for it if you can. Pay for it at the moment because we can't afford it. So every sector of this economy can do better with a little bit more of efficiency. Nobody, and the president have consistently said, nobody is embarking on handing over a concession to a private sector, and then the following day we wake up and they say, all of you go home. In any case, if you are the one who bought ECG, and there are these cutting-edge, new, brilliant engineers there who are now going to help you to make your profit, why sack them? Who are you going to bring? Because they already know the work. I agree with ECG staff to ask for more explanation and everything.
Transparency.
But where it becomes dangerous is this. I use this example all the time. Labor unrest is not new to any country. For instance, if you go to London, if train drivers want to go on strike, they give their employers time. We'll be on strike from 6 p.m. today till for the next 2 days for employer to plan so that the consumer doesn't suffer. This country, people think strike is a punishment. So because government will become unpopular, so you go on strike, a pharmacist go on strike and he locks the pharmacy. The drugs are not even yours. How do you call it? So many things, which is actually not the right way of doing things. Imagine if Ghana Water Company staff went on strike, they close all the tap, they go to Bon and shut everything. Can you imagine the chaos in this country? So you can't use everything. So basically, I've heard some ECG staff threatening, will show you, i.e., will make you unpopular by, will not sell. And indeed, I thought they were bragging. They carried it out simply because of your agitation. Now somebody turns up with his money to buy credit and probably go and store food so that he can save money. You said you won't sell because if you continue not to sell to him, he will be angry with government. I think that is not what we want in this country. Labor unions have the right to agitate and seek their interests. But I'm saying, if we push this country to the extent that because of elections, let's do this. If doctors, policemen, fire service, there's fire in your house, they said, we are on strike, there will be chaos in this country. ECG staff are essential service providers. they should continue, and government must sit down with them. But I know that from what is in the compact, I don't know where their fears are, unless there's somebody there who thinks that maybe his job description is nebulous, and a new management would say, let's rationalize it. That is the only thing. But I can't see engineers, critical staff getting worried that somebody is coming to take a concession and say go home, because that is not part of the concession.
I'm grateful.
I
think he makes a very key point here about workers taking consumers to ransom because of their own interest. Their personal interest.
Let me say this, that there have been a series of strikes in the past few years. And what has happened and what has prolonged these strikes is the way the commentators come up with statements. I'm appealing to those who are attending these crunch meeting to ensure that there's the highest level of mutual trust and good faith, as well as confidentiality. Nobody should go out telling the public what has happened. It causes, parties to suspect each other, and then the strike gets prolonged. We are at their mercy, and so the two parties should have consumers and workers in mind.
But should they lock the credits whilst we're suffering because they're on strike?
No, that is unethical. That is unethical.
Right.
I think we are holding us to run so many.
Okay, Alex.
Right. To also have message in this supply, i.e., this sale of ECG. What is the main cause, or what is the reason behind it? I would want to ask. We are yet to know why.
If you read the compact, what I know,
Kwame enumerated a couple of things.
There's inefficiency.
They are bringing money to start with. Yes, they are bringing new money.
Yeah.
They are bringing new technology. And I say, you and I know, as I sit here, you can know your electricity bill or what you needed to do in some places, your water bill, where you have reached. These things cost money and some level of expertise. I am thinking these are the two main things that come across in terms of the compact. It was not to sack people from work. Of course, when they sack people from work, it's not in the interest of anybody. So these two things actually appear in the compact.
To deal with the inefficiency and perhaps
more investment into it.
Investment, new technology on
for a period of time, not even forever.
Okay. Kwame, we're grateful. Alex, we can go now.
You see, my worry really is that if things are well explained to the workers, we wouldn't be where we are. If people do not have suspicion as to the real intent, we wouldn't be where we are. Okay. All along, your reason for, because if we listen to ECG, they will also tell you that they are not the problem. The problem has to do with
generation. That's what you are saying.
If you say there is inefficiency there, really you need to explain, give us better and further particulars as to what you mean by mismanagement. Is there mismanagement at ECG? Is there inefficiency in terms of the power distribution? If so, is the cure private sector participation, or that the system itself is self-sufficient, except that government is unduly interfering in its operations? These are the things that you need to address. But of course, I agree that the staff of ECG should not in any way attempt any sabotage. They provide an essential service to the state, and you cannot use it, sabotage as an excuse or as a trump card to get your demands respected or answered and all that. That's one. I also disagree with the mode of resolving this matter. But I would just add a little to what Doc said, that oftentimes government communicators, government functionaries rush to give out to the public or place into the public gallery what is really not the case. And other parties feel bad. They would have to be measured in the way they go about these negotiations so that we find a lasting peace. Because ECG, we all need it. Although Dumso has not really been resolved, they will tell you that it has the doomso has subsided.
Did you get the light off? When was the last time you had your light off?
Can you allow him to go?
When was the last time you had your light off? Tell them. Your constituents are looking at you. They were in your house. When was the last time you had light off?
May allow him to go.
Kwame, tell them. You also Kwame, tell them. Your constituents are looking at you. Tell them. They are watching you.
We have just 5 so that we can cut this story.
Last week, when we were doing the continuous registration on the 19th, in Winneba, we had light off for almost 5 hours.
Where?
Can I finish? You've asked me a direct question. And I listened to you.
In your house?
I listened to you patiently in silence. Can you also listen to me?
I'm listening to you.
Very well. When we're doing the limited registration, the continuous exercise, on the 19th, we had light off for almost 5 hours. It took my party to get a generator to support Electoral Commission to continue the registration. Because EC did not even have a genset. And we had a light off at the Ansafo area in Winneba.
Last week.
Okay, hold on. I've not finished. You've asked me a question. Okay? I was in Winneba over the weekend. At least I experienced some 2-hour power outage. Okay?
In Winneba?
You have asked me a direct question.
Entire Winneba.
I am saying that you've asked me a direct question. You've asked whether or not we still continue.
I said in your house.
Okay. All right.
In your house.
You have asked me a question.
Yes, in your house.
Right. Allow me to answer him.
Yes, in your house.
I will not run away from his question. You see, when people are losing a debate, they try to confuse everybody.
Alex,
I just said your house.
This morning,
Alex,
there are critical issues that you've been
in
asked.
your house.
I have raised critical issues that you decided to yank off.
No,
it's Doomso. We've endured it. Listen, we've endured Doomso for 6 years, and you have attempted to resolve it. It has subsided. It isn't as it was before, but the job losses, the cost.
That's a different topic.
Cost that
I'm grateful. Gentlemen, I'm grateful. All right, I'm grateful. So much. Let's quickly. I have just a few minutes to wrap up. Let's look at this story, and then we can wrap up our conversation this morning. The Daily Graphic front page story was ready for 2016. The NDC NPP said they're winning, but other parties are also sure. Dr. Kwapong, just about some 90 more days to the D-Day, and the major parties are saying they're winning, but other parties are suggesting they are also in for the big shock. Is any of the parties ready from where you sit?
You mean the two main parties or all of them?
Well, let's say all the parties.
Well, everybody is ready to the extent that they are all giving out messages and making promises.
90 days, some don't have vice presidential flag bearers and all that. Manifestos not to IPP and PPP and the rest.
Yes, but I see a great deal of competition between the two leading parties, the NPP, NDC, and I think from what they are doing, the campaigning, yes, they are ready to take over the mantle of leadership and run the nation. Nobody goes into a competition saying, no, I'm going to lose. So quite naturally, they will sound upbeat. But we know that in our minds, it's like football in Ghana. Essentially, Kotoko has. What else are you looking at? So they may be ready to the extent that when either of the two leading parties wins, then they can partner and give ideas so that we can move the nation forward. To that extent, yes. But to say that they are ready when some of them don't even have offices in the districts, in the regions, I really doubt. And politics is not a cheap game. You need a lot of funding to be able to roll out your intentions.
Okay, all right. That is Kwame, Mr. Kofi Adam says your party is ready and President Mahama is winning 2016.
Well, I always say that elections are about trying to convince people as to why you have a superior idea. And fortunately, if I borrow from Dr. Kwapong, the two parties, NDC and NPP, have managed this country before, so they have a record. NDC always says we will run on our record. We don't need to run on maybe nebulous things. We will run on our record. That is what we have promised the people, what we have done so far, and what we're building on it. The organizer of the party, national organizer, says we are ready. Why did he say we are ready? All the things we needed to do prior to the election are in force. Currently, we are in a campaign mood. As you are aware, our manifesto, as far as I'm aware, has been ready for some time now. I say this with authority because I know it's been ready. So all those people thinking, in fact, I know it's probably printed already, thinking that there's some idea they've gotten somewhere, which I'm here to see, is anybody's waiting to do an X page and put inside, it's not going to happen. Why? We have set out to deliberately say that we want to transform the healthcare system of this country. And we have a track record of what we have done. We haven't completed yet. We say that we want to add 6,000 more beds, train more nurses, train more doctors. Are we doing these things? We are doing it. But this hasn't gone to the last point yet. So the journey on healthcare is the trajectory everybody can see. On education, the same way, the highest chunk of our national budget is into education. But a chunk of that, 90%, goes into remuneration. We needed to come to a point where we can even fund infrastructure and critical things like ensuring the study of maths and science in our schools to bring the result that will transform this country. We are still on that trajectory. We haven't finished yet. Today, almost every region, by the grace of God, what Dr. Nkrumah started, we are on course to provide a public university in every region. It is critical because some people were at disadvantage because they have to travel all these things. We are on course on those things. The senior high school thing we are talking about, even the 200 will not be enough. We are saying that we are bringing in more technical education. Fortunately, between myself and my brother, who didn't disagree on the establishment of technical university, we have established them to create a different level of manpower for this country. When it comes to water supply, of course, we were met with 50%. We are about 80% now. But guess what? Even my village needs water now. So we should be part of that move. So in every sector, Ghanaians can see the trajectory of where we were and where we want to go. It is up to them to decide. Yes, we can see the path. When we continue on this path under the authority of President Mahama, within the next 4 years, this is where we will reach. And I think this is what and then MPP can also come up and say that this is what they did and this is what they can do. So this argument about the manifesto is quite clear. In fact, it shouldn't be secret what should be in our manifesto. Our manifesto is already being implemented, and I've given you the thematic areas where we are already implementing. And were you not happy when the finance minister came to Parliament and said that budget deficit has reduced?
You're asking Alex?
Yes, no, I'm asking you. Budget deficit has reduced. Inflation has come down.
Okay.
Our foreign reserve has improved. Yet the pace of delivering infrastructure has accelerated. That is a fact, and that shows you that this government is on the right path. We are not going to be perturbed by our detractors because they did the same to Dr. Nkrumah. Akosombo is not necessary. Akmoto is not necessary. But today, we realize how important they were.
Okay, Alex, wrap up for me.
I admire Kwame.
How
he navigates. And he's a great debater.
All right.
And I give it to him. Maybe in future he has to contemplate law to his architecture. And he'll be a great politician.
I see.
I wish my brother well. Before
he start cutting
before I address the issue, I would want to appeal to the Electoral Commission that all of us will depend on them, and that we need a very free, transparent elections. The rules governing elections must always be well explained. As it is, I know that a day or two from today, they are going to start the transfer of votes, and the transfer exercise is for a month. I have been hearing people would want to move to certain constituencies to transfer. I would appeal to the Electoral Commission to come out with all the regulations, the step-by-step procedures involved in this transfer exercise. And I also want to appeal to fellow Ghanaians that nobody should attempt to go to another person's constituency when he or she knows that he doesn't reside there. I know, for instance,
that is one of the regulations.
Yes. Okay. I would want to appeal to them because I know
you should have been there for 12 months.
Exactly.
That's what
I've been hearing in my own constituency people talking about some 5,000 being buzzing. I don't know where they are coming from, but it's an appeal to them because in Winneba, for instance, it's a small place. We all know each other. Last week, some 60 people came from Awambro, and we saw them, but we followed due process, challenged them. When it got to the hearing at the committee, none of them could come. As we speak, over 60 people who came there, and we detected they gave fake house numbers. We went there, take us there, let's see, they all vanished. It shouldn't happen. These things bring about tension. So those who are preparing to bus people to Winneba, I'm appealing to you that Winneba people know themselves. And if you come, you'll be seen. Stay in your constituency and vote there. Don't attempt to come to Winneba If anybody pays you money to come to Winneba, don't come. We know ourselves.
The only
now,
only Winneba?
No, I know Winneba as an example.
Okay.
I don't know of what others are doing in other constituencies.
But
I know
it's illegal
generally it is illegal.
All right.
And the Electoral Commission must be clear. And EC district officers must be firm. Because in an election like this that all of us want to compete, nobody would allow any EC official to undermine the law and undermine that person's chances. In Gabon, it took 5,000 votes for somebody to be declared a winner. Tema East, it took 3 votes for somebody to be in parliament. Somewhere in the Asin area, no, Dunkwa area there, I've forgotten, Himan or something. It was 33 votes or so. So people want to align and all that. I know of the Winneba Efutu, and I'm pleading with those who are planning to bash people that it is better we campaign from within and rely on the voters there. Anybody who comes will be stopped, and that will lead to tension. We don't need it. I appeal to the police to also be there and assist and all that. That is my plea. I'm grateful. Now on the issue of briefly, whether or not, yes, no problem, whether or not we are ready. NPP is ready. In the 8 years of President Kufuor, he came out with social intervention initiatives very unprecedented in the political history of this country, of which same, upon successful implementation, our friends in government are relying on to run this country. I'll give a few examples. Health insurance, key. Youth employment program, metro mass transit system to aid transportation, the free primary to JHS initiative that was implemented successfully, the school feeding, the free maternal care, etc., etc. Today, I ask the question, is there any single successfully implemented social intervention policy by the NDC in their 8 years? My brother could only talk about the parliament office. Anyway, that is for him. There was none. Now, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo tells Ghanaians 3 things I will do, which will be very remarkable. 1 district, 1 factory. Some people say he cannot do it. But I'll take these people back to memory lane. He has mentioned Nkrumah over 8 times today. Because Nkrumah, with those resources then, he was able to commence the industrialization of our economy. Achampon did something spectacular. Operation Feed Yourself, Feed Your Industry. In Winneba, we had Pomazi Pottery, which went on, Mankwazi Farms. We had a number of contractors who engage our local artisans and all that. Today, all these are not there. And I know many other districts are suffering from the same problem. We talk about unemployment. So if the man says that, look, instead of abusing the state resources, instead of wasting them, I would ensure that each district's potential is tapped so that we get each district with a factory or an industrial program to create employment. That's a reality. And then that $1 million investment in each constituency. Already we are receiving funding for various initiatives, but scattered, and we are not focusing. We are not identifying our priorities. What the Nana Addo government is saying is that it will be focused. It will plan and ensure that direct disbursement of funds are done to each constituency so that we look at the priority areas to have the desired effect that will create jobs and help develop. And then, of course, to our farmers, irrigation is critical. If people are saying that somebody says 1 dam, 1 village, 1 dam, and they don't even want to understand, they don't want to appreciate it because they don't have this vision, I'm afraid. You need irrigational support for farming activities. And any serious government would want to focus on that. And that is why Nana Addo is talking about 1 village, 1 dam to support critical farming activities in that part of the country, the 3 northern regions. And if our friends, upon procuring 200 million Ghana cedis for the SADA initiative, they had implemented same successfully, we wouldn't have been where we are. So Alex, I'm sure that Nana Addo government brings a new idea, a new vision, and Ghana would get the deserved change that they expect. Thank you.
I am grateful. Run out of time. The Alexander Finyomakin is the Member of Parliament for the Futu constituency from the NPP. Kwame Agboja represented the NDC in the Adaklu constituency. in Parliament, and Dr. Edward Kwapon is the Chief Executive Officer of HR Perspective. Gentlemen, I'm grateful for your time this Tuesday morning. Thanks so much for joining us. I ran out of time.
Thank you very much.
Sure too. Alex.
I did you well.
Have a good day.
May the great architect take care of you.
All right.